Great. Well, I think Joe will probably join us shortly. Hi, Adriana. Nice to see you.
Hi.
Probably worthwhile just sort of getting moving here. So, welcome to this week's Community Validator Call, Wednesday, May 20th, and we took a break. So it's been almost a month since the close of the Contrao Wasm testnet, and yeah. Just wanted to do a little bit of a retrospective opportunity. We published the blog that the Vitwit team and myself put together. And so I think that holds a lot of the gems there. But I'd love to just sort of, open it up for a quick round of reflections from folks, and sort of reflections about what we learned, what observations we have about running, a CosmWasm based blockchain, what the opportunities are, people can sort of share, and then we'll do a second round. And if there's any questions or comments about the incentive structure, points, etc., and then we can have a little bit of a free-form conversation. So that's sort of how I'm thinking this call will go. Maybe we can just sort of pass the talking stick, the virtual talking stick around, so to speak. And if people would like to, don't have any comments, you can just pass it on to the next person. But I'll start with just a quick observation, and then maybe I'll pass it over to you, Chris, and then maybe you can pass it to Anil, and then he can choose who he'd like to pass it on to. So yeah, I'm really excited about what happened and some momentum that was built, and I particularly am excited to have that it feels like we're the closest to having a user experience with a COSM-based blockchain with the JavaScript libraries that CosmWasm has to engage with our real users. And so we had people who are doing farm observation and farm software engaging on the testnet and pushing smart contracts and sort of engaging with the Oracle problem. And I'm excited to be able to continue doing that with the sort of durable DevNet that the lead validators and some other folks, thank you to everybody for doing that, have kind of maintained. So it felt like the closest we'd been to sort of like real engagement and use with actual users, and not just sort of like our insular sort of blockchain community. So I was really excited about that. So with that, I'll pass it on to Chris, and just any observations you had, learnings, etc., and then you can pass it on.
Sure. I think echoing a lot of what you said, I'm feeling pretty excited that this stage got us beyond simply the validator operations that so many of us are pretty familiar with these days. I think the early stages of lots of testnets are all pretty similar. They're, come online, don't go down, vote on a couple proposals, upgrade maybe. And then a lot of the testnets, I think, leave it at that. So I really saw this as an evolution in testnets by pushing smart contracts and getting validators accustomed to what happens above the very low layer blockchain operations. So I was feeling pretty excited to see people start to engage, a little higher up the stack than a lot of testnets to date have asked people to do.
Cool.
I guess I'll pass it over to Anil.
Yeah, I think.
Would you like to Oh, sorry, Chris. I think I sort of talked over you maybe as you were finishing your thought.
Oh, I was passing it over to Anil.
Okay.
So yeah, I think this is the first testnet with CosmWasm at scale, right? So it was exciting. And then we tested 0.38. I think Desmos people are also using 0.38, but they are having some integration issues. I think we also tested the 0.38 at scale for the first time. And then our validator community got enough knowledge, I guess, by participating in all these three testnets. They're I think they are very good with setup and then the minimal config changes required, like gas fee and then mempool issues. They're well known, I guess. and then with that spam attack as well, like I didn't see much validators going down. I think people are maintaining that minimum fees and that stuff. And then yes, with contracts, I think that is really exciting. And then people participated with so much energy and then stuff. I was expecting like, a lot of PRs for the final challenge, but sadly there were only 5. But yeah.
Yeah.
Adriana, you want to speak something?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about what my input should be here. First of all, I'm super excited that we have a Cosmos proposal for the Cosmos Hub, and that we are able to test it as soon as it is approved. And I believe that the Contra testnet that we had was like very close to what we'll be seeing also. My question here would be, how can we make it more accessible for developers to try and test it out? Because as we have seen in the testnets, there are only like a few participants who tried and succeeded in actually deploying a contract on the testnet. So my concern is about not as user adoption, but more like user implementation. And maybe having like sessions of coding, like online coding, and getting people more familiar with it, and spending more time in creating like very clear, on point, and easy to use step-by-step tutorials for people to actually follow up, and actually writing a guide with all the instructions, with a lot of examples of how to use it step by step, would really help a lot in making this technology more accessible for people to actually have a chance and feel more confident to try it out.
Yeah, cool. Good idea. Alex, would you like to share any reflections?
Yeah. So from the validator point of view, I like the approach of the team. With all these challenges, because I guess we are like covered almost all the situations which happening with validator in real life, let's say, in the mainnet. So we got some upgrades, we got some attacks. We had to spin up more full nodes, like sentry nodes, to have like more robust system. And yeah, you can learn a lot from such kind of challenges, and it was a great experience for me. Thank you for that.
Yeah, good. I'm super glad to hear that. I mean, I'd love anyone, one question I have, just helping organize this, and, and we're sort of focused on our software and, I mean, broadly the Cosmos SDK, but Regen Ledger specifically. I'm just curious, folks who are validating in multiple different testnets and mainnets, how the experience is, and where, like, who might we learn from who's doing things really well? Where are there gaps or places that we can improve that you've seen with a little bit more horizontal, like working in multiple networks?
Yeah, and about the contract challenge. So first of all, my thoughts were like, why do we need like a validator to dig deeper into the code and to deploy some contracts? But when I just got involved in it, and I understood how it works, and it goes much easier. And for example, right now on the other project like Near protocol, they introducing smart contract deployment as well, and I guess it will help me a lot. So you never know when your experience will help you in other things later. So it's amazing.
Good. Well, I'm really glad to get that reflection, Alex, that it's useful, that it's just there's sort of like an intrinsic educational utility around increasing your skill in the way that things were set up. That makes me happy, because I think that's been one of our aims, is to like make participation in the test nets serve the people who are investing time. We want that, of course we want to compensate with tokens and build community in that way, but we also just, I feel very strongly that it should be a sort of skill building, and should you be useful in the long run to put all this energy into something with a group of people. So that's great to hear.
I appreciate your effort. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Joe, we were just going around. You just hopped in. I know you had a computer crash. We were just doing a quick round of reflections. If you'd like to just chime in on how the Contrail CosmWasm testnet went, learnings, observations, reflections generally. And I don't know if you'd like to just chime in there.
Yeah, no, there was some really, really good shows, both in terms of uptime of validators and operations of validators, and also of people getting involved in developing the contracts. Like that, I think that was the most surprising thing for me. The operations of the validators, that's something we've been doing for a while, and certainly I know there are a whole bunch of us that have been involved for the last 2.5 years, like back into the early days of pre-Cosmos launch. So we've been doing that for a while, and that's something it's a well-known area now, and there's a good amount of knowledge and big community built around the operation of validators on Cosmos SDK chains. So it's great to see that people are still carrying on doing that, and there are new people coming in and joining and doing a really good job. But actually, the best thing for me was seeing the amount of effort put in by often non-developers into putting these contracts together. And yeah, I mean, I think as you alluded to, I think I caught the tail end of you saying, maybe it's a great opportunity, and it's brilliant to see that people are making the most of this opportunity to up their skills.
Yeah, great. And I think we really have this thesis at Regen Network, which I think is maybe we'll see. It's sort of being put to the test with this vote around CosmWasm in the Cosmos community, but we have this sort of thesis around upgradability, curation, and governance of smart contracts living on a zone, on a specific blockchain, being part of the security model, part of the quality guarantee model, part of the user experience for end users who are using these state machines as part of sort of sense-making social coordination in markets. And therefore we feel pretty strongly, we feel strongly that is what's going to be the norm, because in a testnet scenario, sort of arbitrary Turing complete state machines might be interesting and might be cool, but they're really problematic in a lot of ways. But in terms of creating social coordination applications for large and small groups of people, there's just, you have to have upgradability and governance over these smart contracts. I don't think there's any way around that. And so that means that validators in some way are going to be at a nexus point of responsibility, and I think it's going to start to play into the business model of validators one way or another. And Joe, like you and I were talking about, how do you actually govern a smart contract effectively and efficiently with minimum overhead, et cetera? There's a lot of work to do on really anchoring that into reality. But nonetheless, I think that it's a pretty solid bet here that validators will need to be, both in terms of their profitability and in terms of just supporting the network, sort of involved a little bit further upstream than just validating the blockchain. So I'm excited that we're getting to innovate there and learn and grow and see what assumptions we've made. And yeah, it feels like a good step. So, you know, as far as Adriana, your question, you know, I actually want to address that. So Adriana, Joe, before you arrived, Adriana was just sort of saying, hey, you know, I think that there's some need for, obviously, for more robust documentation, better sort of developer UX around, you know, engaging in, you know, smart contracts, WebAssembly based smart contracts specifically. I think there's probably a couple of layers here. One is I think the CosmWasm team is doing pretty darn good there, and I want to build on that. And I think Simon is focused on building some TypeScript, you know, because WebAssembly allows you, you know, we're doing things in Rust right now, but you can, you know, essentially compile it to any language. So Simon is doing some TypeScript work, and I think that's going to radically lower the bar for, you know, anybody who can do JavaScript will then be able to write a, you know, strongly typed smart contract. So I think work like that is going to be really great for building community. I think it's also going to be important, you know, if Cosmos Hub and Regen Ledger and a variety, you know, Band and whoever else, maybe Band isn't using CosmWasm, but anyway, a variety of other different chains start using the same, you know, CosmWasm as a module. Okay, you know, I think then we're going to start to see network effect, and we're going to start to see these sorts of, you know, schools and engagement and, you know, paired work sessions and coding. And I think that's all very exciting. And that's actually one of the reasons why we chose to, you know, why we've chosen to kind of like throw our hat in, and why we participated in Architect and CosmWasm and et cetera, is because there is like a pretty broad community around WebAssembly, and even in parity, you know, Web3 Foundation, Polkadot Land, and, you know, Elrond, and now the Cosmos SDK. There's like, it even crosses, you know, blockchain boundaries. So I think we're going to start to see these tools become more broadly understood and better documentation. And so, you know, and I hope to participate in that. And I do have to say, I mean, we're planning on keeping WASM up as a testnet, as sort of for people to build against. I'm seriously having conversations with the CosmWasm team about supporting some sort of CosmWasm arbitrary zone as sort of like kind of like Kusama, like sort of semi mainnet, semi testnet sort of space, independent of Regen Ledger. And it's going to be a little while until the functionality is added to CosmWasm that allows the community of token holders to govern and curate and upgrade the smart contracts in the way that we think is necessary for a good security model and a good sort of utility and incentive alignment. So we're actually not planning on launching mainnet with CosmWasm. We're planning on that being the first major governance vote post mainnet launch of Regen Network to sort of bring that functionality with something that's a little bit closer to what's been described by Ethan Fry in the Cosmos proposal about what's possible there and what the functionality is that he'd like to build out. So I think that's maybe just important for everybody in the community to know our thinking about that. And I'd be interested in if people agree or disagree or have questions about that.
Is there a reason why it will be added post mainnet?
Yeah, well, I mean, mostly because the functionality, as I said, the functionality of being able to govern, like vote on a smart contract is not done yet.
Oh, okay.
And so and there's an arc, you know, Ethan Fry has described that arc. It's going to be somewhere around 3 to 4 months of dev work to get it all baked into the place where we want it, and it seems like the Cosmos Hub community also wants it. So we're intending to launch before that would be done. So we're aiming for August 15th or so mainnet launch, right? And so that would be a month or so before that functionality is really done all the way. And so I also think there's a layer here. To me, I'm actually excited about the community kind of voting and choosing to integrate that, and that being a community decision instead of just our core team's decision as well. So there's a couple of reasons, but the biggest one is technical.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So, and again, that comes from this thesis around that the best user experience and best incentive alignment and best security is going to come from upgradable and governed smart contracts, not an arbitrary sort of Ethereum model. And I think that's, other people are trying the arbitrary Ethereum model, such as Ethereum or, Edgeware or, whoever. There's just a lot of them out there. So I think that they should, we'll see how that works. But in our model, we want there to be community curation and upgrading of smart contracts, so that the end users don't have an experience of these important sort of pieces of script, these smart contracts breaking on them, essentially. So it's important in terms of the incentive alignment. Cool. Well, let me see. We're sort of getting up towards the top of the hour. Does anybody have any questions about the incentive, points, rewards stuff? I think everybody probably got a chance. We did field some questions about that. Just open up the field for questions or comments.
For me, it looks like very clear and organized board score, so I have no questions. Are we still on the run with the latest testnet around end of June?
Yeah. Yep, that's right. June. I'd say end of June is probably most likely. So the dependency there is we're wanting to get, we have a dependency with version 0.39 of the Cosmos SDK, us finishing up the groups module, and that's our minimum viable. We're not going to launch the testnet until we have those things, because we really want to be testing the actual, blockchain. We would also like to have the credits module done, but we're willing to sort of like vote that on the testnet and not necessarily have it completed when we launch. So that's and that end of June sort of syncs with the current understanding of where things are. And things have gone a little bit slower in version 0.39 for those of you who are tuned into the Cosmos SDK stuff, just because Aaron has been doing a very thorough process of sort of making sure that all the users and stakeholders are bought into to pretty radical overhaul of the from Amino to protobuf encoding. Yeah. So it's gone a little
Stargate upgrade.
Yep. Yeah, I mean all the stuff, exactly. All the stuff that we're working on is being branded as the Stargate upgrade for the Cosmos Hub, and we feel like we've sort of been a long time advocating that it's all essentially minimum viable for what we think Regen Ledger needs to be able to do. So we don't want to do this last testnet without having that functionality done, and we may also be able to, I think, serve again, as we've been trying to do with our testnets, we may be able to sort of serve the Cosmos community in a pretty meaningful way by testing that software together pretty rigorously. So that's also exciting.
And one last question: how is Regen doing in the GOS challenge?
Oh, good question. Well, I mean, I think we had a little bit of a challenge in phase 1B, but otherwise, I think we're doing quite well. I don't know if Anil or Chris or Alex want to speak to that at all.
Yes, so actually we messed up our gas price a bit, and then that like we spent almost all our gas. But
How
otherwise,
come?
we were,
How come?
yeah, I'm missing zero.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Otherwise, we were on top 8 or 9, I guess. Just
Mhm. Yeah, it happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oops. So
Oops.
excited for the next phase, and I think everybody's been learning a lot, and yeah, I think it's been going pretty well. And as a broader group, I think some of the other, people are running, a regen zone and multiple others. I know Chain Defense and Chainflow, Staking Defense and Chainflow have some zones running, and I think so. I think within our group, a few people didn't make that mistake that the regen zone did with that extra or that missing zero.
Yeah, it has a name. It's called Fat Finger.
It is called fat fingering it. Yeah, fat fingered the zero.
Yeah, and when you're tired, all those zeros start running together too. So
I know.
Yep.
Thank God this is a test net, because a fat finger happened actually in mainnet and in Cosmos. If some of you remember, there was a huge fat finger,
Yep.
and someone lost like a lot of thousands of atoms because they got the gas price wrong on the transaction. So yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a lot, like 30,000 atoms or something like that, but a lot of atoms.
They got that returned, right? The community.
Not really. Not all of them pitched in to make the refund. We of course made it, and other validators as well. But not all of them made it, especially the large validators who got like a large piece of atoms at that point. Dokia did it also. I think it was like the only one from the large validators who did it.
Yeah, Doki is always Oral is always
Yeah, he's
stand up.
such a fair and honest and correct person. But I believe that only like a third of the amount was recovered at some point. I did some calculations because I was also like rooting for the reimbursement and having some tweets and encouraging everyone to refund the money. But you couldn't
They got some of it back, so that's good.
Yeah, like a third or something. Yeah, but you couldn't really force it out to people. If it kind of depended on everyone if they want to do it or not. For me, it just felt fair that I have to do it, but everyone had their own reasons. So yeah.
Yep. Good. Well, we're sort of just a little bit past the 30-minute mark. Usually like to tie it up there. So yeah, grateful for folks attending. Of course, this recording will publish on YouTube and link so that folks who weren't able to make it can listen in if they want to sort of, Regen Validator Radio, I guess. And yeah, thanks everybody. Have a beautiful rest of your day and the next couple of weeks. If you'd like to join us for the community dev call where we do dev updates, please do. Next week, same time. And then we'll see. I mean, we may, in 2 weeks, we'll see what feels pertinent to actually do on this call. If there's nothing really urgent, don't want to waste time. I thought it was good to do a around this testnet, but it's possible we won't do the community validator and we'll take another break and then fire it back up for the testnet. Or if there feels like there's matters emerging and there's topics that people would like to converse about, we are always happy to sort of have this as a forum. So yeah, with that, thank you all very much and have a beautiful couple of weeks.
Thank you so much. You too. And see you next time.
See you next time. Bye, everybody.
Yeah. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.